Hello, everyone, and welcome to B&E Presents the Trend. This is episode 14. I am Alviana Brewster, the founder and CEO of Black Nurse Entrepreneurs, also known to you as B&E. We are the premier networking organization for Black nurses who are interested in launching, in building, and in growing your fantastic entrepreneurial endeavors. In this episode today, we are talking to the fantastic Tiffany Nichols about the evolution of cannabis as a medicine and the upcoming pending legalization. Tiffany has been a registered nurse for 23 years, a nurse educator since 2013, the owner of TK Education and Consulting, and a cannabis nurse educator who has developed a training program for nurses called Cannabis Nursing Bridging the Gap through Intelligent Caring that was approved by the American Holistic Nurses Association. And lastly, Tiffany has authorized educational resources. I'm sorry, I should say she's authored educational resources that include a medical cannabis dosing reference guide, which is currently located in our B&E bookstore. Without further ado, I present to you my good friend and the visionary, Miss Tiffany Nichols. Hi, Tiffany. How are you today?
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, good
So
evening.
I invited Tiffany to come and chat with us today because she is a fantastic expert in our community for cannabis nursing. So I'm going to give her the opportunity to explain how she got into cannabis nursing to begin with and kind of go from there.
Okay, first, thank you, Miss Alviana, for this wonderful platform that we all are benefiting from or will benefit from. I have no doubt. And thank you all for joining us. So, basically, a few years ago, as my nursing career approached about the 20-year mark. I started to think about my nursing legacy, things that I wanted to do, things that I wanted to be a part of my legacy. And I, like a lot of you, had been in several nursing positions over the years, from acute care to management to case management. And it seemed to progress to a certain point and then kind of stall.
Mhm.
So every few years, I would circle back around to, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? What do I want to be doing? And how can I get it done?
Mhm.
So I started looking at different alternatives. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur of some sort. I knew that I wanted to somehow incorporate my nursing expertise and knowledge into that. And I've always loved education. Always. I remember back in high school, everyone seemed to tell me you either need to be a nurse or a teacher. So I'm not sure what they saw in me, but um, that thought just kept kind of coming back to me. So I went back and got my master's in nursing education. And
Okay.
in that, I had a very unique experience. The program that I was in, it was face to face. However, it was going to be transitioned to online the very next year. So there was only six of us in my nursing education class or a group, and we had the unique experience of basically building or assisting to build an entire curriculum for that transition from face to face to online. So, in that, along with the normal things that you would learn in graduate school, we had a lot of unique experiences that really prepared us. I mean, we built curriculum, we built courses, we researched, we compiled things, we presented. We done a lot of things and a lot of extra things, which now I'm so grateful for. And I think those things I've really found out that I really did enjoy educating.
Mhm.
I loved researching and putting things together and kind of putting my own spin on things. So Circle back around to several years later, I started doing some research after a couple of patient experiences where essentially they were self medicating with cannabis. And those were my kind of come to Jesus moments where I began to realize that, hey, this is a thing. This is something that could potentially change a lot of lives. This is something that could provide alternatives to people who have exhausted their medical options. The people that have had cancer, they've been through radiation, they've been through chemo, they're out of options, they don't have a quality of life. They're looking for more time if they can get it. They're looking for some sort of relief from all this pain. They're looking for ways to increase their appetite. And the two of the encounters I had were people just really trying to find something that would give them more options. And of course, I had to be an advocate because that's what we do as nurses.
Mhm.
And I also had to be educated enough or get educated enough that I could say, hey, well, cannabis is illegal. This is what the law says. And you at least need to have a conversation with your doctor about it.
Mhm.
So I found myself in that situation more than once. And I said, okay, I need to go and educate myself on cannabis. What is it? Everything we've heard from a lot of years has essentially been negative. It's
Mhm.
like a forbidden thing.
Right.
And so I started to research for my own knowledge, and then just started to really interest me. And when you look back at the history, cannabis has not always been illegal. It
Mm.
used to be a medicine. It used to be prescribed. Um,
Really?
Yes, yes. It was only till about 1936 that the laws started to change, and that's a lot of the history we get into when we go through the class. But about 1936 is when you started to see the laws that went into effect that basically prohibited it. So,
Okay.
with that, there was no access. There was research was stalled.
Mhm.
There was no doctors that were able to prescribe anymore. So it essentially became illegal. So again, it's evolved so much over the years, and here we are because there is a law currently in Congress. It has been passed in the House, and there is a vote this week on the 9th, which is it Friday? Friday.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
to hopefully deschedule marijuana. And what that means is that it will no longer be federally illegal. Um, it will allow for more research so they can, see what it helps, what it doesn't help, the efficacy of it. It will allow, the drug companies or whoever to research and explore what options are truly out there. What it will also do is it will further relax the laws that states, and I say some states
Mhm.
because there are some states where it is illegal, where it is still illegal.
Right.
There are some states where it is legal for specific medicinal purposes. There are some states where it is legal, medicinal, and recreational. So when you hear whether it's legal or not, it's not that cut and dry. There are varying degrees of legality. So that's one thing that's really important to understand. What's legal in your state may not be legal in my state, but as a cannabis clinician, and this is another thing that I educate on heavily in class, you must abide by your state's medical marijuana program.
Right. Right.
So that is your Bible. That is kind of like your Nurse Practice Act for cannabis. So those are the things that you learn in class. But so hopefully on Friday, it will hopefully pass the Senate, hopefully. There's a lot of other associated bills. There's a cannabis banking bill, which would allow banks to be able to lend to cannabis based businesses. There are, let's see, there's bills related to taxation of it. You know, how will they tax it if it comes about? Again, as it stands now, what federal says is they are leaving it up to the individual states.
Mm, okay.
And because it's illegal on a federal level, a lot of states um, are not as evolved. They're kind of hesitant. They're not sure. So there's still a lot of uncertainty, which for a lot of people is a deterrent. For me, it's exciting
Mm-hmm.
because one thing as entrepreneurs, and which I hope everybody here is or wants to be, it's time for us as nurses to get in and create an industry based on our own narrative rather than getting in and following someone else's. That's what's really important and what's exciting to me about the cannabis industry. There is a lot of unknown. There is a lot of uncertainty. But just in a short, less than 2 years, the evolution that I've seen, I've been able to go from just researching to getting some information for myself to compiling information to writing a training course and getting it approved and starting to try my hand at publishing and resources. So just in a couple of years, I've been able to do all of that. You know, education, consulting. Just so happen the laws don't affect that. That is legal anywhere. Now, if you get into product development and product facing opportunities, of course, you will have to consult with your state MMP.
Okay.
So, which brings about the enormous opportunities. I've had people to come through class. I've had people that have their own CBD companies.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people interested in growing or cultivation, as they call it. They have a farming background. They're nurses, but they have that interest or that family background. They have land that they want to do something with. I have one nurse, and I like to tell the story. This is one of my favorite success stories.
Mm-hmm.
She is from a remote area of Nevada. She's kind of on the Oregon, Nevada line. And her interest was telehealth. And we know that's going to be huge.
Right.
So her spin on cannabis was she wanted to consult with cannabis consumers or cannabis patients,
Mm-hmm.
but she wanted to incorporate telehealth into that. So what she did, and this is a perfect example of what we um, try to teach you to do in training, is she took her expertise as a nurse, she took her interest in telehealth, and then she took her new knowledge of cannabis and she bundled that. And so now she has a consulting company.
All right.
So that is how she did it. And based on your interest, your expertise, and your knowledge that you're going to gain, we try to help you explore the opportunities that are out there. So when a person asks me, well, what can I do? You can do anything with it. You know, there's a lot of areas of nursing we can't do a whole lot in, but this industry is wide open. You can consult, you can educate. My passion for education, my knowledge of cannabis, and my my desire to continue to educate, that's what I packaged and that's what I offer. That's what my consulting company offers. Um, you may want to get into product development. You may want you may love to cook. You may want to open a an edibles, a bakery.
Right.
You may want to open a smoke shop. You may want to get on the retail side of it. A lot of nurses are business savvy or have business background. Those of you with your MBAs, you may want to package these things and relate it to cannabis. So when a person, which the question I get a lot is, what can I do with this?
Mm-hmm.
What can't you do with it is usually my answer. What do you want to do with it? What is your expertise? And what do you want to do? Because usually you can put a spin on any of it. I also had another gentleman, he was from Illinois, and that's one of the states that became fully legal this year. So he got in at a really good time. His background was in regulatory
Okay.
government. So his spin on things, or we helped him to explore when these new states decide, hey, we want to go ahead and legalize for our state, who's going to write those policies? Why can't we do it as nurses? We have the expertise as nurses. You will have the knowledge. If you're not familiar, there's already some of the councils of nursing, the different nursing organizations. They are already putting out there that everybody needs to be educated on cannabis.
I saw you post about that the other day.
Yes, that
Mm-hmm.
that is already been decided. Um, I don't know if you. Well, I'm in North Carolina. That's where I am, and just about the time when I was kind of starting my company, there was a bulletin that came out, our periodic bulletins,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a big cannabis leaf on the front of it. So basically, there's a lot of groups and organizations. There's the American Cannabis Nurses Association. There's entire associations dedicated to cannabis education. So at some point, we are all going to need to be educated. I choose to be a front runner,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to extend that opportunity to as many nurses that wants it. I think this is a great time to get into the industry and make it our own. Because we are the ones that are going to be face to face with these consumers. We are the ones, now we're going to be the business owners. We are going to be the authors of these policies, or we should be. Um, we are going to be the ones that are assisting our members when they go to dispensaries. What products might they select?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what are the results? We have to teach there's a lot of patient education. Even if you want to be in a patient facing or consumer facing role, there's a lot of opportunity. Um, Another story I share is when I was compiling my research, I went into some local dispensaries. And when I travel and teach classes, I try to locate one in the area and visit.
Really? That's a good
Yes,
idea.
yes. And I encourage the people that come through classes that, and I went in, I introduced myself and told them who I was and what I was doing. And I asked them, I said, when medical cannabis consumers come in, what is it that you need them to know? And the constant thing that I'm getting is, well, they don't know a whole lot, or they don't know much of anything. So they may be getting a recommendation from their doctor, but all it is a recommendation. It's not specific. It's not like a prescription that you've ever seen. Um, but aside from that, they just know what's on the door of that dispensary says it may help with this, this, this. That's all they know.
Hmm. So
They may get
there's
it. Yeah, yeah. They may get it and may not have a good outcome because they don't really know. They haven't had the education. So, saying all that to say, no matter where you end up in this industry, you will need to have some competent knowledge of medical cannabis. Um, a lot of you are probably already getting information filtered through your current positions. Um, and it's very basic. You know, this is a chance for you to learn more and possibly um, be exposed to a potential career opportunity. You know, don't just wait on someone else's cannabis nurse job to be posted. You know,
Right.
why can't we create um, our own opportunity?
You and I discussed that some time ago. I remember because, like you said, it's still semi new, at
Hmm.
least as far as it not being so taboo anymore,
Hmm.
and especially within the nursing profession. Obviously, we've heard of medicinal, but with this legalization too, that's a huge thing. But the audience, I think I would really want them to understand that if you decide to get into it now, you're getting in during some groundbreaking, a
Hmm.
groundbreaking time frame, and like you said, because it's so uh I guess customizable. You can do kind of what you
Yes.
want to do, kind of tweak it, and write those policies, write those rules, be involved in the regulation of it. You can be involved in the
Hmm.
patient education. You have so many options and opportunities. And then if there's something that's not there that you think would be beneficial, you have the ability to come in and say, this is what I want to do. Something that I think is really cool that I haven't seen, and I'm not a cannabis nurse, so it's new to me as well. But with your medical dosaging that you talk about, that's not
Hmm.
something that I
Hmm.
had really heard until you and I started having conversations about cannabis.
Right. Right.
So I tell you
I
what,
see a
talk to people about that. Go ahead, Tiffany.
talk to say that again.
Well, I was just saying, talk to people about the importance of dosaging.
Yes. Okay. So first of all, when a lot of people think about cannabis, they think about smoking. And this is just like any other medicine. Let's just say we have the oral route, we have topical, we have inhaled medicines,
Hmm.
if we're talking about just medicines in general. And usually those are ordered based on that patient, what that patient needs. You know, they may not be able to swallow a pill, they may have COPD, um, so they're not going to be able to smoke a joint or pre roll, as we call it. So, but a lot of people don't know there are a lot of different methods to consume cannabis.
Right.
You know, of course, you can smoke or inhale it. There are edibles, there are topicals. Um, there's a lot of different ways. There's different forms, there's tinctures, there's smokable flower, as they call it.
Hmm.
There are resins. There's a lot of different ones, and a lot of them need education because sometimes, depending on your route, it does affect your dosage and the effect or the intensity of the effect you may get. So that is very important. For a person that is not a smoker, it's probably not going to do a lot of good to send them to get a pre roll
Hmm.
or smoke or smokable flower to put in their pipe or their bong.
That makes sense.
If you think about it, and this is in the research, it's kind of cutting edge, but the baby boomers are projected to be the highest consumers of cannabis. Now, those are the people that are going to be in our long term care facilities.
Mhm.
These are going to be the Medicare age folks. A lot of those are not going to smoke.
Hmm.
So there has to be uh, other ways of consumption for them to get the medicinal benefits of it.
Makes sense.
They absolutely should um, have the opportunity if it's something that's going to help them.
Mhm.
But it's not a deal breaker if they're not a smoker. You know, if you think about, you know, the other ailments that they may have, vision issues, contracted hands due to arthritis.
Mhm.
All of that affects the method by which they consume. So there's a lot of different ways that are important. So it's important for us to know as clinicians so we can educate them. You know,
That
we can't
mhm.
say
Yeah.
we'll go and get this, but we can say, well, be sure you look for all of the different methods. There's different methods. There's this method. There's this method. There's this method. We can say that as nurses. It's education, and then we all know the better informed, the better choices you make, and then the better outcome. Because at the end of the day, and this is something else very exciting about this cannabis industry, whether you're a cultivator that grows it, whether you're a harvester, whether you're a dispensary owner, whether you're a nurse, the end goal for everybody is that patient or consumer outcome.
Mhm.
And so that is very um, commendable, I think. You know, there's some areas of nurses where that is not necessarily the end goal. So if you look at all of the different areas of the cannabis industry, that is the end result.
Very good.
Um, I noticed some questions, so are we
Yeah,
going to answer?
I was gonna let me read. This is
Okay.
from and she makes some couple of very good points here. One of them, she said that I recently went to a dispensary and asked about them having nurse consultants, and they told me that the company, didn't have any, and this was in Florida. She also said that I went to see how they had their place set up in her office. I will be emulating in my office similar with CBD and hemp flowers. So you want to speak to that?
Yeah, that is great. She is definitely on her way. So it sounds like she may be a nurse practitioner and she may be doing some independent practice, maybe.
Hmm. Hmm.
If not, then that is an opportunity. Nurse practitioners, the opportunity for independent practice for some of you is huge. Nurses can be um, certified to recommend cannabis. Nurse practitioners can. Again, that's dependent on your nurse practice or your state MMP, but that
Okay.
is a huge opportunity for nurse practitioners. PAs.
So she is a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, and she has her own clinic, and she also is creating products and things as well. So,
Yes, yes. So that is a perfect example of how she has packaged it and how she is developing that. So that is very good. Speaking as far as the nurse consultants, because I've had kind of some interesting exchanges with folks about, well, nurse consultants are not going to be needed. Now,
what? Who
at
said that?
this, oh gosh. Now, my take on that is right now, because there's not a lot of restrictions and guidelines in place in some areas, dispensaries can get away with not having nurse consultants.
Mhm.
However, my belief, and if you have been in nursing long enough, you can be sure this is probably how it's going to go. Once once it is legalized and there starts being more regulation, these businesses will have to have some level of accountability. You will have to show that you have someone in a medical or nursing capacity that you are consulting with.
Mm.
So these folks that are getting away with that now, I'm not so sure they will be able to. Um, so I'm committed, and that is my belief. So they will need nurses, they will need consultants, and
Well,
basically,
I just want to say real quick, Tiffany, I think it's a good place for us to show our value.
Yes.
explain to them that it's not only just about selling a consumer a product, but you want to make sure that you're doing it appropriately and also have the backing of a medical professional that can kind of even something else I'm thinking about is that medical professional may can kind of oversee their treatment
Hmm.
process and say,
Hmm.
maybe we should think about doing this or doing that because you have this element or that element. The people that necessarily are not medical professionals that are selling or
Hmm.
dispensing may not know those physical ailments that we do.
Exactly.
So even if you come across people who are selling that are not quite convinced that they need you, this is a great area to advocate for your patients and advocate for our profession, but also this little branch off of our profession as far as a cannabis nurse is concerned. We can advocate for ourselves and say, we are needed because you want to make sure that you're doing this appropriately
Yeah.
and with the consumer in mind.
And just another scenario, at some point, hopefully, this will be something that people's insurance may cover. I don't know that to be true, but hopefully, I do know of only one. Well, I can't think of the name, but there is one insurance that is actually letting members use their flex dollars to buy.
Really?
Yes, now of course it's in a state where it's allowed,
Hmm.
but let's just say, for instance, if that becomes a thing, do you think insurance will pay for these things and not have some sort of clinical documentation or clinical involvement? It's just something to think about.
It is.
So, there's a lot of layers, there's a lot of uncertainty, um, but it's going to take a lot of us nurses.
Right.
I can't be the only cannabis nurse educator. There's only a few of us, honestly. I think there's four, maybe three others with, different trains out there through the American Holistic Nurses Association. Now, I know there's others, um, but I'd like to think that we are part of a very elite group because we took the time to submit our information and our training so that it can be peer reviewed. Our evidence has been checked, and
Nice.
you know, so that in itself is a huge undertaking. About 6 months worth of work
6 months?
for their process. But before you can even apply, you have to show that you've researched at least 6 months.
Okay, that makes sense. So that's good to know.
Hmm. Hmm.
What is the certification exactly? Is that what the CPC is behind your name?
That that's another one of my hats. I'm also a certified
Okay.
professional coder.
All right.
So that's a great question. So technically, at this point, there is no formal certification for cannabis. Um, However, like I was mentioning, there are trainings out there that have been approved by nursing organizations. So, will there be at some point? I do believe so. Um,
Somebody can create that.
why not?
Y'all get with it. Somebody in this, you Tiffany, you create that certification.
So I mean, there's a lot of opportunity. That does not deter me. Titles and things does not. It shouldn't deter you because if you have that knowledge, you can create just about any title that you want. We are nurse entrepreneurs. Nobody told us that. We've done the work. We've put in the work. We've put together our businesses, but nobody gave us that title. We got it ourselves.
We
So
got it out.
yeah, this is no different. Yeah.
So Rashan has made a couple of more comments. She says that when we were talking about her being a nurse practitioner and having her own office and all that good stuff, she says, "Yes, I am, but not in my state. Looking for an MD or in Nevada." And then she said she will. She said we will be needed, and people really need to be educated. So
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah.
I absolutely. We just have to work on the stigma,
Yes.
working on trying to eradicate the stigma behind it,
Hmm.
and just making sure that people are well informed and being monitored. If
Hmm.
there's a stigma behind it, then you as a nurse again can show your value. Hey, I'm a medical profession. I've dealt with these diseases for years, and I've taken the extra step to become very educated in
Yes.
cannabis, and I will direct you appropriately.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's another unique thing is and I've talked to some doctors, some pharmacists. This is not being taught
Mhm.
in pharmacy or medical school. So the
Right.
physicians that are self-studying or self-educating, great. But a lot of them, we're going to be educating them.
Hmm. There's another stream. There's
Yeah,
another
I mean,
there.
we do it all the time anyway. I mean, we're comfortable with our physicians, and we say, "Hey, doc, can we try this for this patient?" I was reading about this therapy, or I was reading about would this be an option for this? We do that all the time, so this is no different. If
Tiffany,
you have that knowledge, you
go ahead.
can go ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead. I'm gonna ask you a question when you get done, though.
I was just going to say, if you have that knowledge, your opportunity is just it's limitless. It really is.
Gotcha. What, for people that may not be as familiar with cannabis therapy, can you explain some of the things that people do utilize it for outside of just relaxing and chilling? What are some medical ailments that it's been proven to be beneficial for?
Okay, so I'm going to speak to the state MMPs because that's that's it's what's legal. But in a lot of the state MMPs, you are seeing cannabis being recommended for the intractable seizure
Okay.
disorders.
Hmm.
Some of your disorders like MS, multiple sclerosis. Um, there's starting to come a lot of more research out there about children with autism. Let's see, chronic pain, of course,
Hmm.
anxiety, depression. In a lot of the MMPs, those are some common themes that you see that it's being recommended for. Now, there's
Okay.
research coming out about a lot of other how it affects people that have diabetes, weight loss, and obesity, which is a huge problem, diabetes. So, those are some of the other Parkinson's, dementia. Those are some of the things that you're seeing a lot of research coming out that have hopefully a lot of potential.
Okay. Have you
Yeah.
seen some COVID research?
Say that again.
Have you seen
Absolutely.
some COVID research?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Which is why I really feel like something's going to need to change soon because we've got to find a way to get a hold of this pandemic. I am almost, my thought is that that's why it's kind of a buzz again in Congress.
Okay. Let's go
Um,
ahead and try to get it passed now, type of thing.
the opioid epidemic.
Hmm.
That's another, before COVID hit, that was a lot of the buzz, it's potentially helpful with people trying to get off opioids. So there was a lot of conversation surrounding that. So there's a lot of reasons why it keeps coming to the forefront. A lot of reasons.
Tiffany, something that you said earlier, and just in you discussing the different benefits makes me understand a little bit better why most specialties in nursing, if not all, are going to be probably required to at least
Mm-hmm.
have maybe a couple of CEUs or some kind of
Mm-hmm.
training or whatever, because literally the benefits go across all different types of age groups, and
Yes.
it's not going to be, in other words, it's not going to be discriminatory on who can benefit from it. It can be for this young autistic child
Mm-hmm.
or teenager that has a seizure disorder or elderly person that has cancer, it's literally sounding to me like it will benefit every single capacity of nursing and how we do it, or at least our patient populations. And
Yes,
so everybody needs to understand and realize that whether we like it or not, we probably will have to do some form of education or something on it.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And that was kind of how I got into it, was these scenarios, situations I kept becoming faced with them. So it's like, okay, I need to learn something about this. I can't run away from it. I'm making my home health visits, and you know, when I go in the door, you kind of observe and do your environment assessment, and then you kind of smell that people have probably been self-medicating. And let's face it, some of them are very honest. They're very candid.
They are. They
However,
are.
you have to be an advocate. You have to be an advocate, but you can't do that if you don't know.
Right.
That was another thing that kind of bothered me. I had to be an advocate, but I need to know certain things to be able to do that. Uh, but I also needed to know the laws to some degree. You know, um, so yes, you're absolutely right. We all are going, whether we like it or not. It's here.
Hmm.
It's here. And another interesting thing that you would not think that's associated, when we get into some of the other societal issue on racism and diversity and racial injustice.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, some of the laws that were put in place regarding cannabis disproportionately affected certain groups.
Right.
And another interesting thing, as in a lot of states, as their laws evolve, part of their laws actually include things like expungement.
As they should.
Yes,
As they should.
absolutely. So again, that takes it kind of away from nursing. This is stuff that people need to know for their own good. Your husband may have had some experience back in the day, um, where they were just trying to make it, maybe. I don't know. But this would be a chance for them to get on the right side of this thing and not have that charge or charges or that prison time hanging over their head. So this opportunity is enormous, even aside from nursing. This will allow us to go out and have a fair shot at opening a dispensary.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. How many nurses, well, give us a kind of a general idea. Is that something that's kind of popular when people are coming to you? Are nurses pretty much more on the education consulting part of it? Or do you have a few people really interested in growing
I've had quite a few that had already was kind
in
of
dispensing?
had their CBD businesses based on where they are. But yes, I have
Hmm.
a lot of nurses that want to do dispensary. Several NPs that want to do the independent practice. That seems to be a lot of it. Um, a few educators. That is my passion, but I can't. I have to educate everybody. But and that's another, education is going to be huge.
Hmm.
It's
Yes.
going to be huge. There's not going to be enough of Tiffany.
Mm-mm.
So, I mean, there's going to need to be more training courses written. You know, um, they're going to want to be, we're going to want to be traveling and teaching these courses and speaking at conferences. There's not going to be enough of us. So, yes.
I think it'll be interesting to start seeing us opening up shops, dispensaries, and things in our neighborhoods that were once ravaged by it in a negative
Mm-hmm.
way. Be interesting
Mm-hmm.
for us to be able to contribute to that in a positive way and to have it more just regulated, I guess you would say, making sure
Mhm.
that it's done appropriately, safely, from a healthy standpoint. And
Mhm.
again, as I always say, our community is about giving our Black nurses opportunities. You
Yes.
know, a lot of these opportunities are things that we can just sit around and think up and create on how is it that we can utilize our nursing knowledge and be able to pour back into our community and maybe even change that community for the better.
Mhm.
What is our role in that process? And because
Mhm.
this is so new, we really are able to get in on the ground floor and run things or be solid contributors to
Mhm.
the future of it. So that in itself, the other day we had a very nice conversation. Myself and Rashan were talking about how we can own home health agencies and keep that money in our community, be able to take care.
Mhm.
Somebody refer a patient to our home health agency, and then we're able to take care of, sister so and so, sister Betty that we knew
Mhm.
from years ago. So I kind of look at it the same way as far as cannabis is concerned. You can place that dispensary. Hopefully, this legislation. So everybody needs to tune in on Friday, right? Hopefully, this legislation will go through, and
Yeah.
then these regulations and rules and laws and stuff will be
Mhm.
lifted a little bit. We'll be able to really take advantage of it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Tiffany, we want you to make sure that you're posting on
Yes, absolutely. And when you brought up about an important point, one thing that I found that is very, very essential is building your network. That is going to be essential for keeping those dollars in our community.
Mhm.
And what I have also done is that I have a Facebook group, not to take away from yours, but I have a Facebook group, and you're a member, dedicated
Mhm.
to cannabis professionals. And what I am accomplishing with that group is there's a lot of free education that I post in there, lots of it. But what we're also doing is we're building our network so that when you go out and when you open your cannabis based business, you can jump in the group and say, well, hey, I got this opportunity, or I need someone to do this. Can you help me? Or can you do it? Or, there's an opportunity for, in my state, for another dispensary. I'm going to jump in the group and see if there's anybody that wants it. Because one thing that I
Nice.
found when you're dealing with regulations, a lot of this stuff, a lot of people don't know this, but when you want to open a dispensary, of the states that allow that, they only allow a certain
Mhm.
amount of dispensary license for any given period of time. In a lot of areas,
Hmm.
that window's closed right now. There's all kinds of lobbying groups that are lobbying minorities for marijuana. They're lobbying to get them to increase that number, allow a certain number for minorities and for us. You know, there's all kinds of ways that we are being shut out of the industry before it even gets started. But if you never network with anybody, or if you don't make these associations, or you don't dialogue with these folks, you would never know that. And I've learned these things by connecting with folks and bringing folks together and signing on to different forums and webinars. And uh, I'm always doing something cannabis related. I'm
Right.
jumping in Zooms and anything that's out there because I want to share that with you, of course, but I also want to know. So building your network is important. And that was kind of hard for me because I'm kind of a loner when it comes to certain things. However, I will say that now we have a network of about 1,200 people in our group.
Nice.
So, and it ranged from people that are just starting to people that are interested to people that maybe have a CBD business to a consultant. The people that have come through class, they are in there. Um, and so building that network is imperative because if not, we're going to get shut out of this industry just like a lot of other ones. And
I like this. I like what you're saying.
so I don't want that. So, and that's why I'm so appreciative of your platform. Um,
Thank you.
and I don't know if I've shared it, but you are one of my mentors.
Oh,
I,
me?
yes, I
Yes,
learned a long time ago. Your mentor doesn't even have to know that they're your mentor.
that is true. That
But
is true.
yes, so networking is very important.
It is.
And most
It's
people that
very
come through,
valuable.
yeah, most people that come through class, they say, I watched you for a while. And it
Hmm.
was at
Hmm.
this moment when you said this, I said, okay, I got it. So that is important. That is important.
Absolutely. A couple of things. Rashan has made a couple of more comments that are very good. She says there needed to be more melanin in these associations as well. She says she's been a member of the ACNA for 2 years, so I'm assuming American Cannabis Nursing Association. And then she says that we're being or have been redlined out of the business. So if
Absolutely.
the audience, you guys listen to that because that's extremely valuable. She's telling you guys something. She says that we've been redlined out of the business, and that a lot of people that come on here and discuss topics with me say the very same thing, that this was not our game. We were not meant to be a part of this. And so the beauty of it is, we always say when people will not allow us to have a seat at the table, we go and create our own table, right?
Yes.
And so this is a prime example of that right here. We have people in this community, including Tiffany here today, who are telling you that I have the knowledge, I have the expertise. And yes, we've been treated unfairly, of course. That's a whole nother conversation. But I've put in the work. Tiffany says I put in the work to make sure that I'm giving you the best, most accurate, and up to date evidence based information to take it. I'm distributing it to you, and you guys take it and do whatever you want with it, whether that's educating, consulting, whatever. The sky is
Absolutely.
the limit. So we need to understand that maybe we have been redlined out of some things, and that's just fine because we're going to be
Mhm.
creating our own organizations and associations, and we're going to be doing these things on our own terms. And so, um,
Absolutely.
speak to that. What do you think about what she said?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That I can't emphasize that enough. That is a great point. And the history of the marijuana industry is that we were redlined out of it because we were the ones that were imprisoned and charges attached to us and denied so much. So this is our chance while we have someone's ear, while we have the momentum, while we have the knowledge. Gosh, we're some smart people.
We are resilient,
Yeah.
very resilient.
And all of these, I mean, for these reasons, we can take this industry and take it to where we want. Um, we have folks that are listening to saying, "Hey, we're tired of being shut out. We
Mhm.
are here. We are knowledgeable. Your um, your organization needs me. This is what I have for you. We need to be empowered to do that. Um, I certainly can help you with that. I certainly can. you know and I'm willing. And another important thing is when you come through my training, and I just would like to say this: I don't see myself as a competitor to any other trainings that are out there because we are all needed. It's
Mhm.
just really what, as far as the objectives, what speaks to you and where you want to go. um, However, um, when you come through training, that is not the end of it. That is just the beginning of our relationship. I hear back from those folks pretty often. We have a dedicated blog.
Nice.
aside from the group, just for people that have come through
I
class.
was gonna say I haven't seen a blog.
But
Okay,
that's something
seen
especially
the
for people that have been to class and they really,
okay.
really want the extra. They've started their businesses. Um, I've actually got some folks lined up. It's not as active as I would like at this point, but it's in place. And
Mhm.
as I network, what I do is I invite guest bloggers at different places in the industry. So essentially,
That's a
it's going to be the course graduates that are going to run that blog. I really don't have an interest in doing that, but I created it for them, for us, you know.
That's nice because we'll get to see the different angles,
Mhm.
how
Mhm.
people came through your program and how they're utilizing that skill set
Mhm.
now and what they're
Mhm.
creating. And I would also encourage people to think outside of the box. You probably, especially if you're in education and consulting, you probably want to think about pitching yourself to American Cancer Society or Diabetic Society or whatever. Pitch yourself to those organizations because, as Tiffany has said, those that patient population is going to need your knowledge. And so think outside of the box and start reaching out to those organizations and say, hey, how can I benefit your target audience with the knowledge that I
Mhm.
have, what cannabis is doing right now and where we're headed for in the future.
Absolutely. 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 I think there's a question there.
Yes. This is from Nia. She says, okay, so let me clear up something I've been wondering about since I stumbled upon on this live and it's the topic. CBD is from hemp, not THC, right? So it's not marijuana, which I suspected since it probably wouldn't be legal and used as much as it is. But is hemp in the THC family? How is it similar? I'm a nurse and have been asked about this, but I'm kind of unsure about it. So,
Okay. There's a lot of stuff there. So anyway, not without going into too much, because it can get very involved. So you have the cannabis plant or marijuana. Cannabis,
mhm,
marijuana, it's used interchangeably.
okay,
You have different parts of that plant. You have the leaves, you have the stalk, and then you have the actual flower for some of the plants.
okay,
Now, CBD and THC, those are what we call cannabinoids. There's hundreds of cannabinoids in the cannabis or the marijuana plant. CBD, THC, those are the ones that we know probably the most about. CBD is non psychoactive. Of course, THC is psychoactive, it will give you the high. As far as hemp, it is a part of that cannabis plant, but it comes from a different part of that plant,
okay.
like the
Good to
stalk. It's
know.
it's it's not. It's different parts of that plant. So let's see. CBD is from hemp. Yeah. Yes, there are some forms of CBD that can be derived from hemp. Yes, but it's still all a part of that plant. So no, it's not marijuana. Cannabis, marijuana, again, that's used interchangeably. How similar? Okay. So hemp is part of that plant. CBD and THC are cannabinoids. And when you talk about cannabinoids, you're talking about the entire plant. You're not necessarily breaking it down. Now, again, it's very involved. So, we do break it down in class as far as what components are where. But again, there's hundreds of cannabinoids. So, it's a lot to learn. It's really, really comprehensive, and it's a lot of heavy information. The class, it is 8 hours.
Hmm.
Um, and there's parts of it that could be the class within itself, the dosing as you mentioned. But so I hope that answered your question. That's a great question.
It is a great question. because even myself, I was like, oh, okay. Now I understood that THC and CBD were two different things,
Hmm.
but I wasn't quite sure. I didn't realize that it was the plant itself has so many different parts to
Hmm.
it or components to it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
thank you, Miss Nia, for answering that, asking
And,
that question.
and another important point, hemp, it's the point at which the plant is harvested. If you would continue it, let it to grow, then it
Hmm.
would be considered, I don't want to say marijuana because it's still a marijuana plant, but to get hemp, you harvest it sooner. So it
Okay.
doesn't have that constant, it's not above that concentration that is legal.
Okay. Oh, well,
Yeah.
look at you, Miss Tiffany. You
I
know
mean,
your stuff.
very, very, very detailed as far as, but that's cultivation and that's a whole nother area.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
But
it is
people have
interesting.
farms of hemp. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, really? Just hemp farms?
Hmm.
Hmm.
And they
Very,
harvest it before it gets to a certain point. Hmm.
very interesting. So she said, "Oh, okay. So CBD is safe and not something that causes marijuana effects. I'm hearing it's beneficial to health, but there is so much confusion about it. So that's where our cannabis nurse educator is coming into
Absolutely.
play to get rid of stigmas and confusion and all that."
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm. Hey, so let me
Yeah.
ask you this. This is a good question, and I've heard this often. Um, who can be a cannabis nurse educator? Is can CNAs, LVNs, all the way up? How does this work?
As far as, my training, any licensed nurse, any
Okay,
licensed nurse. Now,
so LVN.
yes.
Okay.
Now, nursing assistants probably would have a difficult time meeting the objectives because of some of the terminology. Um, I have had a few non-nurses that I've spoken with,
Hmm.
and because they don't have that nursing knowledge, um, then they may have a difficult time. And I just don't sell courses to anybody. That's just not my. Because another important part of my training and what makes it so unique is that we include the practical application piece, meaning we actually go into that role of what do you do as a cannabis nurse? I don't
Okay.
just give you the knowledge, we take you through that role. Those are some of the resources that I've developed. We put you in a scenario. If you're patient facing, what do you do? What are your education pieces that you want to educate on? If you're a consultant, what are you going to do? We actually do a lot of activities and we put you in that role. So that, again, is a very unique part of, the training that I developed because believe it or not, again, and I'm not speaking against any training, but I have had people that have come and taken various trainings and they say, well, I still feel like I need more because I don't know what to do now. I have the
Mm-hmm.
knowledge, but what do I do with it? I don't know how to apply it to a patient situation. I don't know how to apply it to consulting. I don't know how to apply it to being a business owner. So, we do a survey at the beginning of class and part of an introduction, and then we progress based on what the expertise, where they want to go with it, and then we're adding that cannabis knowledge. So that is pretty unique with my training. Very proud of that because again, I've had some folks kind of discouraging, but I've had some folks to come and say, well, I took this class, but what do I do next? You know, so
Do you
so that's good.
offer after your courses? when people come through your classes, do you offer mentorship or anything, support so many days out or what have you?
Formally, no. Do I still interact and get questions and calls? Absolutely. And again, that's another reason why I set up the blog.
Okay.
Um, and I've had people that want a business startup. I'm not a business startup. I can show you what I have done. I can show you things that I had to put in place to make my business a legit business. You
Okay.
know, getting your LLC, your tax ID. I mean, that's just basic stuff.
Right.
Um, I don't mind sharing that. Again, that's that practical application. You know,
Hmm.
so
I don't think we have any other questions. If y'all have some more questions, make sure that you put them down here for us. Um, what are some key takeaways that you want the audience to kind of know, especially those maybe that are joining kind of later? They'll have to go back and listen to a replay of this
okay.
podcast. But
So,
what are
so,
those key
so
key?
key takeaways, please. There's a lot of evolution in the laws of cannabis. As I said, there is a vote this coming Friday, and it is involves the descheduling of cannabis. It will, hopefully be descheduled. Um, right now, it's a Schedule One, so that makes it federally illegal. That is going to open up the doors for states to develop or evolve in their cannabis laws that are already there. That in turn is going to create enormous opportunity for us nurses. We're going to be you will probably see cannabis need nurses with cannabis knowledge, or
Mhm.
you know there hopefully will be more dispensary licenses to apply for. You will see hopefully more physicians recommending. So, I'm saying in all of that, as a nurse or any professional, you still have to have some sort of knowledge base. You will be responsible as a clinician to provide competent care and safe care that is legal. If you don't have any knowledge, that's going to be pretty hard to do. You will be held accountable for it. Um, so this is an opportunity not only to get that knowledge, however, think beyond that. Relate it to businesses. Add it to your current business.
Right.
Develop a new business centered around the cannabis industry. Don't just stop at just what someone else needs you to do. You know, um, this is just a prime time for us because, again, as you can see, we're being redlined out. We're going to miss the boat.
Mm.
You better believe there's a lot of people poised, waiting for things to become legal. Why wait? You know,
All
um,
right, great. Look, we're gonna jump on it. Don't worry. I feel like
yeah,
there's gonna be a lot of people in here that are going
yeah,
to jump on this opportunity.
yes. And I am not going to be. There's not going to be enough of me
Right.
to do the education that is going to be needed. We need more educators. We need more training courses. Someone asked me, well, a couple of people have asked me, well, do you need any more educators? I may one day. I don't know. I hope I will, or at least have that opportunity. Um, so again, there's a lot of things that you can do with this. You know, it's again, we need to break the stigma. We
Right.
need to show people that this can be beneficial.
Mhm.
This can be an alternative for those that are suffering. This can give those people a better quality of life. You know, um, and you can't argue with that. You know, something's going to
No,
give someone a better quality of life, as short as it is or can be. You know, then why not give them the opportunity, or why not at least educate them about it and let
okay,
them make that choice?
absolutely. I
Yeah.
100% agree. One thing that I just thought about, have you or do you have a trainer kind of course?
Now, I have a train the trainer workshop. It's not specific to cannabis. However, if you decided with your cannabis knowledge that you wanted to build a course, absolutely, we would take you through that process because that's based on your knowledge, you know, what
Okay.
you have, your information. So,
Hmm.
yes, it's basically the process that I used to write, develop, and get it approved and everything. Yes,
Okay.
that is a separate workshop. So, you know, all of the things that I offer they are on, you know, my website.
And we
Enrollment,
can
it's
put
open,
it
you know,
down there at the
schedules
bottom.
and everything. So, um, my
But you'd be
emails, you know, you can contact me through through the page, through the website. I'm on B&E quite a bit.
yes.
Um, yeah. So,
Give all of your handles and everything. Go ahead and give all of them if you don't mind.
okay.
You got
So, no, I don't have them. Okay, so my website, where my company as a whole, TK Education and Consulting Solutions,
okay.
it is www.tk-solutions with an s.org, and it's running across the bottom of the screen. I'm also on Instagram, and it's at Canib Nurse, and that's CANNIBNURSE. I'm on Instagram.
I'm gonna write it in the chat here.
Okay,
You said
okay.
Canib, CANNIBNU.
RSE. Mm-hmm.
Hold on, let me CANNIBNURS. Okay,
Yes.
there you go.
Yeah. So, you know, you can contact me through the website, through Instagram. I do answer Messenger. However, my Facebook page is not a business page.
Okay.
There's different. It's not a secret, but it's just a lot of different stuff on there. So I don't really do business on that page.
What's the name of the group? Are you okay with me
Oh yes,
saying?
absolutely. Yes, I'm sorry. My Facebook group, however, is the Medical Cannabis Industry Summit.
Industry
Summit. And it
Cannabis.
can be a little difficult to find on Facebook because they do sense some censoring, but you can find it. The picture for this month is a pink ribbon with a cannabis leaf, kind of, so that it'd be kind of easy to find there. Um,
Okay. And we have it here quite a bit because you posted it. So, just look for Tiffany's smiling face because she's pretty popular in this group here. So it'd be nice to
I
be
don't know about that.
yes, it'd be nice to be in that group too because it's solely focused on cannabis and
It
how
is,
you can utilize
and there's a lot of free information you can explore and really, really get a feel of what's out there. Yes.
it. All right, good, good, good. Any other questions that anybody else may have while you have Miss Tiffany? I appreciate your time, Tiffany. You and I've had multiple conversations, and I'm very excited to see where this is headed. And I'll be watching on Friday to see what ends up happening. Even if they don't pass it, I still think that this is a prime time to go ahead and increase your knowledge base on cannabis because, like you said, people use it regardless of
Yes.
if it's or not. People still use it. And at minimum, we do want to make sure that our patients are safe and educated and making sound decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I definitely appreciate your expertise in it and just motivating our group and our listeners and everybody that's surrounded in the B&E community with
Yeah.
providing this knowledge. I know we actually in this community have a couple of CBD people who
Mm-hmm.
have their own products. We have
Mm-hmm.
people that are just consultants and educators.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have a wide variety of different
Yes.
people, but you
Yeah.
focus solely pretty much on consulting and education.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for your cream to come out though.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't pass, which I hope that it happens, just
Hmm.
keep in mind there is still the law out there that allows individual states. So there still will be states coming legal. It maybe just won't happen as fast as we would like.
Right.
Um, but it's still happening. It's not meaning it won't ever happen, but this would really kind of catapult all of that because I'm pretty sure, actually, I'm sure New Jersey's on the ballot next to
Okay.
fully, yeah. So that's one of the states that we're hearing a lot about.
When is Texas? We're one of the last ones, so
Woo! Behind North Carolina, honey. Woo!
y'all are worse than Texas.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, but again, like you say, it is even if this doesn't go through, it's still an awesome opportunity to go ahead and
Because
knowledge and education because
it's going to happen. Yeah.
you can do so much with it. Even if, i- like for instance, did you say Illinois earlier was one
Uh-huh.
that is,
Last year.
well, you can be consulting people at a dispensary or patients or whatever, telemedicine, like you said earlier. There's
Well,
so many.
this is another unique thing.
Mhm.
As nurses, we have the compact license that helps
Yeah.
dearly. So we can work in several states.
Huh. Yeah.
That's
And
how I kind of, move around and educate. Yeah.
y'all better listen to that. That's the
So
state that I'm
don't let anybody put you in a box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. That's
Yeah.
interesting. But you're right.
Hmm.
You're right. Okay. All
And
right.
everything's virtual
Yeah.
at this point. Yeah.
And another good idea or thought is a lot of us here have group homes and assisted livings and stuff like that. You can always partner with those business owners in this community and
Absolutely.
provide consulting and educating, or if you have products or whatever,
Hmm.
there's ways that we can still
Yes.
be active and be connected to our community. So
Yeah, that's that networking. Yes, absolutely.
opportunity and the networking
Yep.
that you were talking about. You're right.
Hmm.
Good. Anything else that you have? We don't have any other questions, so we'll wrap up. Do you have anything else that you would like to
I
share
think
with us?
I'm good. I'll be excited waiting to hear from everybody. So I'm good.
Fantastic. Good, good, good. Well, I appreciate you for coming in and joining us today on this lovely Wednesday. And we look forward to seeing more and more. I know, like I said, you've always been very active in our community and very supportive of it. But as this is materializing, I hope to see you more and more and keeping us updated on exactly what the whole legal thing. That was one of the reasons why I reached out to you to begin with because I was like, wait, wait, wait. Tiffany is saying that this is relevant for us to pay attention. So I wanted
Yeah.
to make sure that the community was aware and really paying attention on what could happen in a couple of days for us. So
Right.
thank you again.
Yes.
All right, good deal. So I will end here. That is it for us today. Make sure that you're following us across all of our social media platforms. Join our private Facebook group. And we have a Facebook page now. We have a website, app. We're all over the place now. All of our information will be listed in the biography section of the podcast. And until next time, we are the trend. Thank you. You guys have a good night. And thank you, Miss Tiffany. I
Thank you.
appreciate
Bye
it.
bye, everybody.
All right. Bye.